have a Diana Taurasi story? I don't know if we could beat the Sue Bird peeling oranges story, but anything from
I think
her?
it's going to be a little bit different, this one.
I just remember going to the lane and she just like clocks me, just like straight on, like boom. I'm like on the ground. I'm like, like unbelievable. I mean, it's probably the hardest block I've probably ever received in my life. And she's like, hey, you look good.
All right, everyone, welcome once again to the French Connection, brought to you by NBC Sports and Racket, where we cover the French Open through the Olympics in Paris and, of course, everything in between. I am Rennae Stubbs. That is Sam Querrey right over there. Sam, what an incredible couple of weeks we had at the French Open. Later on, of course, we are going to be joined by Jewell Loyd, two-time WNBA champion, who's a huge tennis fan and a tennis player herself, but we're going to get to her very soon. But Sam, what do you think? Men's final. Let's just get straight into it. What a match. What a tournament. Carlitos wins again.
Yeah, you know what? A 5-set win in the semis and a 5-set win in the finals. That's what you want for a final. You want 5 sets. It is an incredible match. I feel like Alcaraz came out, wins the first set, loses the second set. That third set there, he's serving for it. And kind of for the first time, really all tournament, I felt like he kind of had like a 10-minute mental lapse and kind of went away, but then got right back to it, dominated the fourth set, dominated the fifth set. I felt a little bad for Zverev with that second serve call. I don't know if you saw that. That would have put the match back at 2-2 in the fifth. But at the end of the day, Alcaraz was the better player, played incredible, and he's a deserving French Open champion.
Yeah, I think, look, we all, as tennis players feel sorry for that second serve call, but so many times stuff like that happens in tennis matches. You could go back maybe to the third set. Maybe something happened there where he could have, been up 2-1. Like, things happen. Certainly a bad call. But also, I don't know if you read my tweet, but I said electronic line calling. Hello, where are you? Exactly. At the French Open. And, I don't know about you, Sam, but people kind of come back at you like, there's margin for error, la, la, la. And it's like, yeah, but guys, there's margin for error on human error too. But the difference is, and I feel with electronic line calling, there's no argument. It's just like, that's the machine's call, get on with it. And I think if the call had come, for example, by a machine, there's no arguing that. So anyway, but let's not talk too much about that because, as you said, I think the better player won. And I think I might have said that Zverev was going to make the final, Sam, and lose in the final and get a little tight.
You did. I mean, look, that's a spot on call. You were all over it all week, but Alcaraz, I mean, the creativity, and he really does have an all-court game. You see him serving and volleying in big opportunities. You see him using the drop shot. He uses a high loopy, not to call it a moon ball, but uses that to get short balls. He redirects backhands down the line. He can do everything, and I feel like he's just got a little more variety in his game than really every other male player out there right now.
Yeah. It's phenomenal, particularly on clay. I guess how many is he going to win throughout his career? It's a little bit concerning with the injury that he had. He had the physio out a bunch. You could see that it was working on like his upper leg, groin area, and certainly for someone who slides the way he does on clay, there was a bit of a concern there. Were you a bit concerned that, is he going to be able to like physically get through this match?
I definitely was, especially with the history he's had with injuries over the past couple of years, but like you said, he had the physio out. They kind of worked on it, and it seemed to make or have zero effect on his game. He really only got better after that. So, hopefully now he's got a week to, kind of take care of his body, recover. We'll see. I think he's probably scheduled to play Queens next. If he's not 100%, he can always take that week off, take the week off before Wimbledon and have 3 weeks to get this body right. But all in all, his body held up well, and you see him move around. He's physical. He kind of moves around the court the way that like Djokovic is physical with his movement, Carlos is physical with his movement. So, we want him healthy to watch him play at that high level.
Dude, the shot maybe of the tournament, the one-handed flicker. Now, as somebody like you who had a two-handed backhand, did you ever run over and hit a one-handed flick backhand cross-court? And virtually one of the biggest points of the match. And the look that Zverev gave him, like, whatever. And then you see him apologize because it clipped the net. I don't know if everybody saw that point, but it was literally one of the best shots I've ever seen. I screamed so loud in my apartment. It was ridiculous. And then he says, sorry, because it clipped the net. But then the next movement is, vamos. I was like, I loved it. That shot. Can you tell me, have you ever hit a shot like that?
No, I've never hit a shot. First of all, I can't even slide out to my left on clay, but I mean, for a guy he's got a two-hander like most of us, and he goes over it and flicks a one-handed back, passing shot cross court. And yes, it clipped the net, but even if it didn't clip the net, the fact that he hit it so cleanly and so solid at such a great angle, and I believe that was to give him a love 40.
Yeah, it gave him 3.
It was a huge, and yeah, just to hit
double
that
break was huge.
There's one thing hitting that in practice, but to hit it in the French Open in the final and like this big moment is even just more incredible. So that was, he had the momentum at the time, but that was kind of, what would put him over the edge. And once he hit that, you're like, all right, this is his tournament at this point.
Yeah, I was just like, good luck. You can't beat the guy with one hand, then good luck. Youngest player at the age of 21 to won all the Grand Slams on different surfaces. He has not won the Australian Open yet, but it is a hard court. He's won the US Open on hard court. He's now won Wimbledon last year over 5 sets on grass. And now he's won the French Open. He is the youngest to do that. Look at the names on this list, Sam. I mean, are we talking about arguably the next? I mean, can he get to 20? What's the deal? Like, this guy's phenomenal.
It seems, if you go back 5 years, you're like, oh, will someone else get to 20? You'd be like, no, it's too difficult. It's too difficult. But now all of a sudden he's got 3 and he's 21 and he's got 3 on 3 different surfaces. So all that tells you is that at every slam for the next, he's 21. Let's say he plays till 35. So for the next 14 years, he's going to have the opportunity to win every Grand Slam he's in because you know he can do it. And so, yeah, he does have a chance to get to those, the 20 number, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I mean, when people were talking about those numbers, I was like, no way, no one's ever going to do that. This was the most freak, 2 or 3, 3 players we've ever seen in Roger Rafa and Novak. But now we're starting to talk Carlos Alcaraz, Sinner. I don't know if Sinner's going to get to 20 just because he's not quite. Well, no, I don't even want to put him in not quite as versatile.
He's got to get to 2 before we talk about getting to 20.
That's right. But the semifinal wasn't as, it was. Everyone was complaining it wasn't as great as the US Open and the matches. I mean, come on, give these guys a break. You can't be perfect every single time they play. But I'm so looking forward to Sinner and Alcaraz. I think Sinner's the favorite at Wimbledon, even though Carlos won it last year. He's definitely my favorite to win the US Open. Sinner, I just think the faster court helps him. And I think Wimbledon will be interesting to see if they play against each other. But thankfully, they'll be number 1 and number 2. But then you've got Novak, who's won it 7 times, he's hanging around as well. So I don't know, but we'll get to Wimbledon in a second. What's the impact you think of Juan Carlos Ferrero for Carlos? Because he wasn't in Australia. He tactically played a horrendous match against Zverev. Everybody's talked about it, including myself, that he played the backhand way too much in Australia. And then he's finally figured out, oh, that's right. The guy's got probably arguably the best backhand of the game. Why am I playing it there? But just the influence of having the coach there to remind him, to calm him down, and particularly one as experienced as Juan Carlos, who also won the French Open himself.
Right. It's massive. Like you said, Juan Carlos won the French Open. So just for Carlos Alcaraz, just being able to look up at that player in between points gives you a lot of confidence. And look, no one knows what Juan Carlos is doing with Carlos, behind the scenes, how he's coaching it, but whatever he's doing, it's amazing. He's done a phenomenal job these last, call it 4 or 5 years. And I'm more impressed, not so much with the game that Alcaraz is playing, but just his mindset. He kind of is like Rafa. You don't see him get overly high or overly low. He's locked in every point. He just acts like a true champion, kind of like we saw Rafa do. And so that's what I'm most impressed with. Like whatever Juan Carlos is doing to get into the mind of Carlos Alcaraz is really impressive because Alcaraz is just locked in and acts like a champion at this young age of 21 every point.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, my last thing on Carlos is that he really is the mixture of all the 3 greats. He has the flexibility, that, outreached, open stance, backhand passing shot down the line. He has the creativity of a Roger Federer, with the fancy like drop shots and the slice backhand. And he has that kind of like bull mentality of Rafa and of course the Spanish personality. But he has kind of like the quirkiness and smiling. Sometimes, Novak does the smile and then so he has a little bit of everyone in him. And I am so here for it. I cannot wait to watch him play the next 10, 15, hopefully years. He stays injury free. Somebody who has no problem winning the French Open and has now done it 4 times, which is unbelievable at her age, of course, is Iga Swiatek, who just crushed Jasmine Paolini. And a lot of people are like, oh, it was a terrible final, all that sort of stuff. But listen, you play who you play.
Yeah.
We know she had that scare against Osaka. I mean, Osaka was 1 point away from winning the match. Could have been a very different situation. But as I also tweeted out, I thought she was going to crush everybody after that match against Osaka because we saw her cry after the match, Sam. I mean, you know what it's like to go in as overwhelming favorite against somebody and, you get pushed. And she, I think, was so relieved after getting through that match and knowing how, not lucky, I don't want to say that. No one's lucky winning a match, but fortunate to get through a match the way she did there. I think she was just so relieved that she was like, all right, I'm good now. And of course, all the big hitters in the bottom half of the draw lost. Rybakina, Sabalenka, to Andreeva, to Paolini, because the matchup on clay is very different. These two players that they lost to are technically very good clay quarters. But for someone like Iga to play another clay quarter, you better have some power. And unfortunately for Paolini, she was playing herself. She was just playing somebody way better.
Way better. And you kind of had a little hope early. I think going into the match, everyone's like,
2-1.
Iga is gonna crush Paolini. And then Paolini kind of holds that first game, and then Iga holds, and Paolini, I think, holds again to go up 2-1. You're like, all right, like, you know what? For a first timer in the French Open final here, like, she's come to play. And then it was off to the races for Iga, 6-2, 6-1 after that. And you just, there was nothing Jasmine could do. Iga's just better on the forehand side, on the backhand side, on the movement. And like you said, once she got through the match with Osaka, it was like almost like a weight had been lifted off her shoulder. And it was like, okay, I've got freedom now. I'm not necessarily playing with house money because she's number one in the world and so dominant, but that felt like her test. She got through it. And then after that, it gave her just like that extra bit of confidence, and she rolled through the rest of the field just like you predicted after that match.
I mean, somebody's got to do it. Someone's got to put themselves on the line. But
Exactly.
on a serious note, 3 times in a row she wins this tournament. It's now the 4th time she's won it. But this is somebody who's dominating at this event. Chrissie Evert, of course, holds the record at the French Open and has an amazing record at the French Open. But you start talking about Iga Swiatek now. How many French Opens can she win? I mean, being number 1 seed, having all of the pressure on her shoulder coming in here, winning Madrid, winning in Rome. And when you look at the names that now she is on the list with, look at these players. I mean, these are the absolute greatest tennis players outside of Serena, who is not that great on the red clay, but certainly she won enough Grand Slams, so I'm not going to give her a hard time. But look at the players that she has now joined at the French Open, and this is the upper echelons of tennis royalty.
No, it's incredible. I mean, and for her, like we were kind of talking about this off camera, what's harder, getting to the top or staying at the top? And I think it's staying at the top. The fact that Iga has done this 3 years in a row, everyone's gunning for her. It's a testament to her. But I don't think it's crazy to say that like she could have a look at 10 French Opens. I don't know what you think, but it doesn't appear right now that she's got, a competitor on this surface that's going to be challenging her year in, year out.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you go back to Rafa winning 4 or 5, you start, maybe he can get to 9, like 10. Oh, it's like crazy. The guy has 14. Okay. So is it, which is so nuts. I mean, players don't win 1 tournament, let alone 14 Grand Slams at one event. But I said last year when she won, I thought she could win 10 French Opens. And look, if she stays healthy, look, she's quirky, she's anxious riddled and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's over time, it gets harder and harder to win, which is why we as pundits and ex-players are so respectful of what Roger, Rafa, Serena, all these players do, because there is no question getting to the top is really hard. But staying there year after year is by far harder. There's no question about it. You have to keep upping your level. You have to keep, everyone's nipping at your heels, and no one has any pressure when they play against you. So what she was able to do, I think getting through that match with Osaka, as you said, just lifted all the weight off her shoulders, and she just played so freely after that. Paolini, got to give her so much credit. I'm so happy for her. She's now inside the top 10. This is a player I saw play at a 125 in Prague like years ago, and I was like, this kid is so good. She's so happy. Why isn't she doing better? Do you see her maybe making another final of a slam?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, look, she gained a lot of fans. She's a fun player to watch. She's got a smile on her face. She rips the ball. Not to mention she made the finals of the singles. She made the finals of the doubles too.
That's
like
right.
It's a kind of a little icing on the cake with that result as well. But if she's gonna make another final of a slam, it's probably gonna be the French Open. Her game seems to be suited for the clay, but she's somewhat of a new name to the casual tennis fan, and I think I think a lot of people are going to be excited to watch her at tournaments all over the world moving forward.
Agree. All right, I got a good question for you, Sam. Who's going to win more Grand Slam titles between Iga Swiatek and Carlos Alcaraz?
Gosh, this is so difficult. I'm going to go with Iga just because I don't think she has the competition that Carlos has. Or maybe not the competition, but she just seems so dominant. The gap between her and maybe Sabalenka and Coco just seems like a little too great right now, where Carlos does have like Sinner on his heels, and it seems like Zverev may clip him one of these times. He's had some injuries. But at the end of the day, like I can see them both getting 15 or more. But I'm going to, if I had to pick right now, Iga is my answer. You?
Well, I'm surprised only because I thought Alcaraz, we just talked about how dominant he is on all surfaces. This guy wins at Wimbledon. He's won at the fast surfaces of the US Open, whereas Iga struggles a little bit more against the Rybakinas, against the Sabalenka, against the Ostapenkos on a fast hard court. I mean, she can't beat Ostapenko on a hard court. It's insane. But so I think she needs to adapt a little bit more on a faster hard court to multiply the Grand Slams, right? The way Rafa was able to step up a little bit at Wimbledon to not play so far deep in the court. The Australian Open changed a little bit, got a bit slower through the year. So I don't know. It's a great question, and one that we don't live or die by because it's not about us.
Right, exactly.
But someone who does have a Grand Slam in singles and also now in doubles, finally, because I think it was her third or fourth final in doubles, was Coco Gauff. You got to give her a lot of credit. She came off of, a difficult loss to Iga in the semifinals again with all the question marks, like, are you ever going to beat Iga, blah, blah, blah. But she turns out with Siniakova, who, of course, has been so dominant over the last couple of years in doubles with Barbora Krejcikova. They decided to have a break. Then she was playing with Storm Sanders from Australia, and they were doing pretty well. And then Storm, guess what? Tore her Achilles. And so she plays first time with Coco Gauff. They win the French Open. I mean, how great is that for Coco to finally get that win? Because she's been in, as I said, a bunch of Grand Slam doubles finals, to play with someone as experienced as Siniakova, who's also won so much. But it was nice, especially when they just dominated the whole tournament.
Yeah, they crushed it. And in my opinion, Coco's been the best doubles player the last 3 years. Like
Siniakova might have a little.
I know, but Coco is a singles player who is also playing doubles on the side a little bit. I don't think she necessarily practices doubles. It's a little bit like Jack Sock. Jack was never the number one ranked doubles player, but I think amongst the locker room and amongst the players, you're like, Jack is the best player. I think Coco has a little bit of that kind of aura around her on the doubles court. We're like, you know what, Coco, yes, she's a singles player. She's phenomenal at doubles, but like, I think a lot of the girls, if you ask her, like, Coco, they would say Coco is the best doubles player. She's got incredible results with everyone she plays with. Her and Pegula had a great run for a couple of years. It was awesome to see her, win this, and they dominated as a team. But I'm impressed with her doubles game, and I think, if you win a Grand Slam in doubles, it's just going to help your confidence on the singles court, and hopefully this can kind of boost her even more. When she plays an Iga or a Sabalenka in those matches, hopefully she can gain a little confidence from these doubles wins.
Yeah, I think what she did and what helped her was playing with somebody who'd won so many doubles Grand Slams. And as you know, Sam, experience, you can't buy it. And she had not won a doubles Grand Slam. Yes, she'd won a singles, which Siniakova had not done. But I think when you're on the court with somebody who's like calming you down, and she's won so much. But I'd say Sue Shea might have a little issue with you about best doubles players.
No, I know. I just feel like if Coco quit singles right now, is like, I am full-time doubles, I'm giving her 25 doubles Grand Slams.
I love it. I love that you're promoting that. And can I just say, any young player out there and any coach out there, get your kids to play doubles. It only helps their singles game. And often, actually, Coco's son have done it the reverse. Usually a lot of players win doubles Grand Slams and then they go on to win singles Grand Slams. And there's been many in the past, particularly on the women's side, that have done that. I can think of many, many, many of them. Ash Barty comes to mind, of course. The most recent to have done that. Azarenka won mixed doubles before she won singles titles. The list is long. All right, so Sam, is it way too early to preview? Hold on. Wimbledon? I don't think so. So let's get to who's your favorite on both the men's and women's side. I can't find
my trophies right now.
Yeah. Listen, where's your Queens one? Because that's coming up soon. That's
No,
way bigger than this.
Side story: when I won Queens, they sent me the trophy. It was in like 400 pieces. I sent it back to get a new one. They sent me another one. It was also cracked. So I have the Queens trophy, but it's cracked right now.
No.
Yeah, but
We
it's
have
all
to
right.
do
I'm
something
moving on.
about that. I mean, it
I'm
is
moving on.
large, so I
Yeah.
don't know. But anyway, way to avoid the question.
Look, it's too early. Like we were predicting before the French Open with the men. Like we didn't really. There was like 12 guys we thought we could win the French Open, and ultimately Carlos won it. But Wimbledon is even the grass results are even a little more obscure. So look, Carlos and Sinner are probably the two favorites. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be a guy ranked between like 8 and 15 that's going to win Wimbledon this year.
Grigor Dimitrov?
Yeah, a Dimitrov, Taylor Fritz can hit through the courts. Maybe Bublik hits first serves the entire tournament, never misses one. Like you just don't know on that men's side. But at least we're going to have a finalist, I think, that's kind of between that 8 and 15 range in the rankings. And on the women's side, yeah, like, look, Iga hasn't shown us what she can do on the grass yet. If Sabalenka's locked in, her balls are going to be – I think we saw first round of the French Open, her average forehand speed was like 150 miles an hour. If those are dialed in at Wimbledon, she's going to be tough to beat. So I'm gonna go with Sabalenka on the girls' side. Men's side, I'm kind of saying it's open.
Well, okay. Well, from my standpoint, I think I'm going to go not on a limb because she's won it before. I'm going to go for Rybakina. I think that she has sort of struggled a bit this year with injuries, with sickness, all the things. And look, you could say Sabalenka. You could say Ons Jabeur, who's played in the finals the last 2 years. You could certainly say Iga. But I think as far as comfortability on grass and the big serve, if she's healthy, I feel like Rybakina is the player to beat on grass. So I'm going to pick Elena Rybakina. And on the men's side, I said before, I think Sinner is the favorite. But I get these weird feelings, Sam. And I think that Carlos is going to win Wimbledon again. And I think Novak might have something to say about that. We forget about that guy who's won it 7 times.
But is he going to be able to play? I don't know.
Oh, no, he won't be able to play. You're right.
He's
Because if it's a meniscus tear, 6 weeks is minimum. So, yes, you are correct. Thank you for reminding me of that. So I'm going to say Alcaraz, and then I'm going to bookend the Grand Slams with Sinner winning the US Open. So I think Sinner's going to win the first and the last, and Carlos is going to win the ones in between. So I'm going to say Carlos and Rybakina. You heard it here first, everyone. And as far as Sam is concerned, you can pick anyone outside of Alcaraz or Sinner.
Yes. Look, your French Open predictions were spot on. So if you're listening out there, go with Rennae's predictions because she had a great French Open run.
Yeah, I got a bit lucky, but anyway. All right, guys. Well, we are so excited about our next guest, someone who knows tennis very well, and you're going to hear all about it. 2-time WNBA champion, Jewell Loyd. She had a game last night, and we're very pleased that she's going to get up early for us and join us because she's on the West Coast. And so are you, Sam. So thanks for getting up early. All right, guys. More with Jewell Loyd after the break. All right, everyone, as promised, we promised you the one and only 2-time WNBA champion and 5-time All-Star, the Gold Mamba herself, Jewell Loyd. Jewell, thanks so much for joining us. I know you had a game last night. You're up early on the West Coast like Sam, so we really appreciate you joining us today. Thanks, buddy.
No, this is awesome. I couldn't say no to this. This is a must-do, so I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about your season, first of all, in the WNBA. Playing pretty well. Seattle Storm is certainly one of the teams to play for. They've had a storied franchise through the years, and I know that you're glad to be a part of that team. Tough one last night. You lost, but also you had a great win not that long ago against the reigning champion, the Aces. Just overall, how are you feeling about your season?
We're feeling good. It's always interesting when you have new teammates, right? New season. I always say, like, every season is a new journey. Never, the same journey, never the same season, never the same teammates. Things evolve. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're evolving. We're still trying to take some time to get to know each other. We're still trying to figure out personnel sometimes or what people like to do, but that's all new. Training camp was shorter this year because of the Olympic year, so we only were together for about 2-3 weeks before season started. So that's not a lot of time to kind of implement people, but we're feeling good. We're right where we're supposed to be. We know we're still building, so that's the point of getting better every day, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. Can you feel kind of like the WNBA right now has a ton of energy, ton of new rookies in the league. It seems like it's, you turn on ESPN, Stephen A. It's being talked about everywhere. Can you kind of feel that energy when you're at your home games, away games, any game right now? Can you feel that new kind of like bump of energized like energy from the fan base when you're playing?
100%. It's definitely electric right now. I think just in general, the women's sports is just taking off. I feel like that's where we're going, and that's where we're seeing a lot of momentum, which is amazing. So for us, I feel like every couple of years there's a generation that comes in and kind of elevates the game. And that's what we're definitely seeing that now. I think obviously now the NIL kind of helped the shift to college sports, and people coming in with way more notability coming into the professional side. But there's definitely a movement, and it's great to see because you obviously want to grow the game, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, so let's ask the elephant in the room, the whatever you want to call it. Caitlin Clark, you were the #1 draft pick as well back in your day. You had a lot of expectation on your shoulders. Just tell us the difficulties of coming into the pro league, the differences between playing college, being the outstanding player in college. You go to the pros. Tell me what their first year is like, just so people can understand how difficult. And I have to say, Jewell, as a season ticket holder now to WNBA games, I never realized how intense and physical women's basketball is. I don't know about you, Sam, if you've been to some WNBA games, but my God, like their physicality. So just tell us how hard that transition is.
Yeah, the best way I can explain it, and actually how I explain it to my niece and nephew, it's like if anyone in general goes to a new job, you're always kind of like, what's going on? It takes a minute to get your foot in. It takes a minute to just realize what's going on. At the same time, for me, I came from college. We were living in dorms for 3 years. Now I'm living by myself on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest. Haven't been an adult. Had to figure out how to grocery shop, all these things on top of trying to learn new plays. My teammates, my teammates at the time were older than me. They were, with families and things. I'm like, I'm just playing video games by myself. So it's definitely an adjustment. You're learning how to be an adult on top of learning how to be professional. It's not easy. And yes, like you said, it's the WNBA is so physical, and you realize it really is the best league in the world. You're playing against, Olympians. You're playing against the most high level athletes all the time, and so it's not easy. And that's why it's the best in the world, and that's why it's only so many limited spots, because it's so competitive every single night. But yeah, it's always an adjustment. No matter how good you are, no matter if you're coming in from overseas, whatever it is, it just takes time because you're just coming from college. Like you're learning a whole another life. You're starting all over. And the best thing to do is just to rely on what is play basketball. The game is the same. So you rely on that. The game will take you where it needs to go. And I think that's the biggest thing with all the rookies coming in. It's always just do as you do and let that take you off the floor.
That's awesome. Moving from basketball to tennis. We know you play some tennis, and I know you play some pickleball. Yeah. We're just saying you're in Seattle. Like I'm injured right now, but we were going to have a big pickleball tournament in Seattle later this summer. It's been moved, but we'll have to get out on the court one of these days. But were you locked in the last 2 weeks watching the French Open?
Always. Tennis is our family thing. I grew up playing tennis, so I know the game pretty well. And waking up in the mornings before practice and our games was the best thing. I'm calling my dad, like, get up, the game's on, and it's what we love to do and what we love to watch. So I've been locked in, and it was some great tennis and some great storylines as well.
Yeah, so tell me, Jewell, like your dad, like the history of tennis. Why? Because some people might be listening to this or watching it going, wait, what? Tennis? You? What? So give us more of a background of how you got into it and your family's love of it.
Of course, my dad moved from Georgia to Chicago. His uncle needed a hitting buddy. My dad knew nothing about tennis and started to play. My dad played football and basketball, but tennis was something that was really exposed to him and his family. So his uncle was like, here, grab a racket, we're just going to play. So my dad was obviously really bad at the start. Eventually playing over years, he got really good, and he fell in love with tennis. And when he had my brother and I, he implemented tennis into our lives. And I grew up every day playing tennis. I was on the circuit growing up in Chicago. I played for my high school team. I play now still, but it was our family game. We played doubles all the time. My dad and I, my brother and my mom. And then I just fell in love with it. And I always say, I was taught the game of tennis, and I learned all the whys and why nots. And for basketball, I was just good at it. So that's kind of the difference. And it just kind of looked at that way. But tennis is something that I love to do. I study the game. I just, it was my first love. It was my first, implement to sports. And people don't realize how amazing and difficult the sport is. And so the ins and outs of it, as you guys both know. But it's such a great sport. It's such a mental game. And it's something that I still, just devour my time into.
Do you think playing tennis growing up has helped you in your WNBA career? Like kind of having like the background with the different sports, maybe the footwork, maybe the hand-eye coordination, things like that?
Definitely. The footwork is huge. I don't think people understand how important your feet are when you're playing tennis, but also in basketball. A lot of it's balance, shifting momentum and weight. And so knowing how to do that, coming off screens, it's the same thing. I got to be able to stay low to the ground and use my shift and understand that. But a lot of it's mental. I think that's probably been the biggest shift, is understanding if I'm able to play tennis for 5 hours, 4 hours by myself as a child, growing up, just me and the ball, having to strategize and problem solve. It makes it a lot, I'm not going to say totally easier to have 4 other people on the court with me to problem solve, but it definitely is a weight off my back that I don't feel the pressure all the time on myself. So understanding at an early age that it's a mental game and challenging your brain in different ways has allowed me to use that in basketball.
Yeah, I love that. Certainly in tennis, we don't have to worry about getting body checked, though. So that's the one. I mean, I don't know, Jewell, you maybe want to stick with tennis. At least someone wasn't going to give you an elbow or like smack your arms down. Now I know why you guys wear the sleeves. I mean, because you guys get scratched all the time. I finally figured it out. It took me all the time. But let's get into the French. I know that you were watching, you were getting up early, which would have been tough for you on the West Coast, buddy. But, were there any matches that you were just like, wow, like this is why I love this sport so much? Just talk me through some of the matches that you watch and some of the people that really excite you when you watch tennis.
Yeah, I was super excited. I wish the match was kind of later on, but Iga and Naomi was amazing. To have that kind of start off, it was just phenomenal tennis. Having, Naomi come back and she's in a rhythm and I think she's playing great right now. I think that this match kind of give her a vision for where she could be coming in the next major and things like that. But that game was unreal. Just great hitting, great strategizing. It was just like a blow for blow, punch for punch. It was really good to see. And, we kind of talked a little bit, but Iga is a savage, man. She has another level. I don't know, and she just has this gear, and I think that actually challenged her to be better too. So I'm sure she's going to look back at that match and see, okay, what can I do to improve here and there? But that was great on that side, and watching on the men's side, watching Carlos and Sinner, I love watching them play. I think we get great tennis every single time. It's just phenomenal to see young guys hitting the ball so fast. They're young, but they're able to problem solve really, by themselves really, and have both creative sides that are different, which is nice to see. But waking up early, I tell you, it was the best. It was giving me motivation to go to shoot around because I'm watching this game and watching tennis and going to shoot around. I'm like, let's go, guys. And they're like, why are you so energized? I'm like, I just watched the whole, 4 hours of tennis before this. So it was a great warm up for me.
That's awesome. Now, unfortunately, there's no tennis tournaments in Seattle. I've actually never been to Seattle. I've been all over the world for 20 years playing tennis. It's like my number one place I want to go visit. Only in the summertime.
Sam, you got to go to the Seattle Tennis Club. I think I don't know the exact name. It's on Puget Sound.
Once I get this boot off, I'm going up to Seattle this summer and play.
Please.
But have you ever been to live tennis? I know there's none in Seattle, but have you been to Indian Wells, US Open, any of the big tournaments?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I went to the US Open, which was phenomenal. We actually were in New York playing. We had some time off, and so I made a big thing like, listen, I don't care. I went to the theater already. I've done this. I'm going to tennis. So that's why I've been there. I've also been to the Miami Open as well. So that was awesome. Had a really good time there, and I was actually in Miami doing the Miami pickleball as well. So I was able to play a little pickleball, able to see some tennis. So it was best of all the worlds for me. But my dream.
Look at that! Look at that!
There it is.
We might need to play mixed doubles at a tournament next year.
Please, I would love to.
Jewell, don't do it. He's struggling. He's struggling.
Listen, it's a bunch of teammates. It's we gotta lift each other up. So
exactly.
I'm a great teammate,
I tore my Achilles a couple months ago, so I'm gonna need a lot of lift up right now if we're on the court together.
I got it. As long as we can take the 3 steps, get to the line, we can dominate there.
Yes.
So I'm already strategizing, but
I love it.
Yeah, it's my dream is to take my dad and go through all the opens, and that's kind of been our goal, our dream to do that. But I'm definitely always locked in. As always, Tennis Channel is always on.
Well, I can tell you and I spoke at the game here in New York. My seats are literally like, I feel like I'm on the opposing team seats because my seats are so close to you guys, which is kind of nice. But we did mention you are playing the Liberty during the US Open. I don't know if you've had something to do with the scheduling of Seattle Storm's games in New York, but you certainly did that right. So hopefully we can get you out to the US Open, maybe get you on ESPN to give you some, some tips on what to do in the game would be fun. But let's get to the Olympics, my friend. Now, rumor has it, I know it's not official, but rumors have it you might be back on the Olympic team. If that is the case, congratulations once again. What does it mean? I know it's not official, but I think you've been told. Just give me your thoughts on, again, going to the Olympics again in Paris for you.
Yeah, I'm always kind of getting it from my dad where it's like, nothing's official until it's official, right? So I try not to get too geek until I hear it from the source itself.
Okay, let's just pretend. Let's just pretend.
If
hypothetically you're on the team.
Yeah, hypothetically, if I'm on the team. It's pretty amazing, playing basketball. And when I quit playing tennis to focus on basketball, it was like I have two goals: to win a WNBA championship and win a gold medal. And I've been able to do that, which is incredible and amazing. And, you set these goals and sometimes you're unsure along the journey of will it happen, could it happen? And then you get a call from USA and, going to Tokyo was like, what? Seriously? Like all this work and all this sacrifices finally paid off. And then you kind of get the urge to say, how can I do it again? What can I do to put myself in a position to do it again? And I think I put myself in a great position to be on the team to go to Paris. And I've never been to Paris. So I'm excited to see that. And
between you and Sam, do you guys travel? I mean, what's going on?
I know.
It's unreal. I don't know. I've never been to Paris. I've been to Toulouse and everything else, but never Paris. But to have the vision of going to compete for your country, to do something you love, and to represent your family and friends and your beliefs on a whole nother global stage is impressive. And it's just, you don't take this moment for granted because you never know,
and thankfully with a crowd, because in Tokyo, obviously it was tough for you guys. And I must admit, Sam and I have both been to the Olympics and we've never had to experience that with no crowd. That would have been really tough. So I'm glad all of you guys get to go back to Paris with a full crowd. And the atmosphere is going to be completely different.
For sure.
Now, there's so much talent in the WNBA right now. Is there one person you're looking forward to playing with most on that Olympic team that you're, not a teammate of Seattle, but someone else in the league that you don't normally get to play with that you're like, oh my gosh, yes, like I'm going to be on the court with this person for the duration of the games?
Yeah, the last couple of years I've gotten really, really close with A'ja Wilson, and she's just phenomenal. She's a great person. Her family's amazing, and you look at her and she's dominating right now with ease. But that's kind of just where she's peaking, and she just does it with such a grace and confidence level. And so playing with her, it's always amazing, because for me, anytime you go to Olympics or go to the national team training camps, you're around like Hall of Fame players. Sometimes you don't understand. They're just like, oh, these are my friends, like these are my classmates, whatever. But it's like, no, you're around Hall of Fame players. You're around the legends of the game who have shifted the game of basketball and changed the game of basketball. And so I look around, I'm like, this is awesome. Not just the basketball aspect, but I'm around these great people. So I'm going to ask them questions on how they do things. And, you're never going to be in a room with these people again, maybe. Who knows? So I take full advantage of that. But playing with A'ja, it's such a blessing because she's just another level, and I learned so much from her. And like I said, she's in the confidence that has really ignited the next generation of athletes coming in to try to do that as well. So it's always cool to play with her and see her and just watch her be great.
What country are you worried about going into the Olympics? We see on the men's game, you got Luka Doncic, you got the Joker, you got a lot of European players on the men's side. In the WNBA, you guys are so dominant, haven't lost a game in the Olympics in 30 years. What country or countries do you guys kind of have highlighted as like, we're a little bit worried about this group of ladies?
I like the eye roll that you were like 30 years. Oh, no pressure.
Yeah, I know. Just like felt like 10,000 bricks.
No pressure, right? Don't be the team to break the streak.
Yeah, I know. Geez, that would be crazy. No, honestly, like every year you see the development of countries getting better and better, whether it's development of players, coaches, strategy, just talent growth, things like that. And for us, a lot of us play overseas, so we know a lot of the people on the other countries. We understand how they play, things like that. But I mean, every time we play, China, Belgium, France, Australia, right? Like a lot of the players do play in the league too. So we know kind of how the physicality is and things like that, but you can't take any team, lightly. All you need is one bad game, one bad quarter, and things change instantly. So for us, it's maintaining what we do, focusing on us and what our strengths are in playing USA basketball. That's kind of our mindset every time we go into camp. We want to make sure we're playing USA basketball. If we go to worlds, qualification tournaments, is always how can we play USA basketball, focus on us, and let everything kind of fall into place.
Yeah, and old Seattle Storm player that you didn't get to play with because you're a lot younger than she is, Lauren Jackson, coming back for Australia. Though that's just crazy in and of itself.
Man, Lauren, she's like top 5 for me easily, hand down. What she's been able to do, how she does it, coming back, just dominating. Shooters always shoot. She's never lost her touch. You can see that, but she has this grit about her. And I think she's playing for more reasons than just basketball itself. She's inspiring so many people and the game of basketball in Australia. She's doing so much to elevate that. And I told her, like, anytime she needs help, like, I'm willing to come down there and help out whenever I can because, she's done so much and it's only right. And she comes back. She's always so nice and gives me so much wisdom. So, her coming back that's a storyline that people need to talk about more.
Listen, Jill, January, Australian Open. I'm thinking ahead here, get you down there. She finally went to her first Australian Open and first tennis live match last year. Okay. So there's, wow. Exactly. All right. So speaking of Lauren, speaking of teammates, well, you didn't play with Lauren, but give me your best Sue Bird story.
Best Sue Bird story. First time in Seattle growing up, first week before training camp, Sue's like, come over, I don't want you to be alone, like hang out. And I was like, first of all, Sue Bird's texting me. I'm still like shocked about that. Then she's asking me to come over. I'm like, what do I wear? Like, I'm like nervous, I'm kind of panicking. And so we get over and she's like just talking to me. She's like, hey, like how are things? I'm like, well, I just left college, so things are great. Like, I don't know, like I'm fine. Like, how do I connect with Sue? Now she was talking to me, and before, there was someone told me, I don't know if WNBA players are going to take care of you. They're kind of grown, they have their own lives. And that's kind of like in my head. She's over there like peeling me oranges, cutting me up a whole meal. She's like preparing all these things. I'm like, wow, like this is like first class. Like Sue's like making me meals. Like it was crazy. So we sit down and we're just talking. And for me being a rookie, like having that first experience was like, no way. Like Sue Bird is in here, sharing a meal with me. I'm barely talking. I'm nervous, and her way to kind of just break the ice was amazing. And that's kind of transformed our relationship going forward because you knew that it was bigger than basketball for Sue. If anyone who knows Sue, it's, she's so nice, so genuine. There's no fluff, and she just wants people to be to themselves all the time. And that allowed me to grow in the person I wanted to be. And I've always kind of shared that story with, my friends and family, because people don't know Sue. They just see her as this icon, what she is, but they don't know the person she really is in her heart. So that first week was like mind-blowing for me. It allowed me kind of relax and have someone to confide in as a young kid coming into the league. So I always remember that. I'm like, man, Sue peeled me oranges, we're good. That's like, back in the day, like that's so it's peeling oranges is hard in general. So for her to do that was amazing. So
truly one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Agreed.
Piggybacking on that, Diana Taurasi. I think this is her 5th Olympics. Six. Yeah. You have a Diana Taurasi story? I don't know if we could beat the Sue Bird peeling oranges story, but anything from her?
It's going to be a little bit different, this one.
Right? Did she make you like a nice filet mignon with a salad? And
no, just probably on the elbow and gave me some water and told me to, kick rocks with DT. Yeah, no, first time, honestly, probably the most welcome to the league moment. Before the game, she's like, no, like, congrats being here. Like, just kind of hype me up. I'm like, oh, wow, like DT. And DT is like my idol. I grew up watching DT. So I have so much respect for her. Later in the game, kind of filling it out, whatever. And I just remember going to the lane and she just like clocks me, just like straight on, like, boom. I'm like on the ground. I'm like, like unbelievable. I mean, it's probably the hardest block I probably ever received in my life. And she's like, hey, you look good. I'll walk my floor. I'm just like, thanks, Diaz. I'm like, literally like my shoulder's hurting. Like I'm like sore. And she's just like, hey, look good. It runs back on defense. Is a 3 timeout. I'm like, all right, this is awesome. This is perfect. What I want to hear, for my idol, just, taking, just no mercy. But me and DT have a great relationship and she's awesome and she's so competitive. I think that's why she plays with so much joy. I think that's why she's able to play for so long because it's just a joy to the game. And we see that, even with, you compare with Novak, right? He loves the game of tennis. Like he understands that. And there's a purity to how they play. So, DT is next level and she has intensity, but it's all love.
Oh my God, I think that's a great story. Talk about apples and oranges with basically, by the way, DT and Sue Bird are best friends. So there you go on that front. But that's awesome. Also, it's important for people that haven't followed the WNBA that the storyline out there about Caitlin Clark being, treated this way. This happens to all rookies. You just didn't see it back in the day because the cameras weren't on every single game the way they are now. I don't want to get into that with you though, Jewell, because we don't have enough time to talk about that sort of stuff. But is there a moment at the Olympics where you've been starstruck, where you're like, oh my God, there's so-and-so?
It's got to be a non-basketball player too.
No basketball players, respectfully. But we were in Olympics. We had really the only time that we were really with everyone was opening ceremonies. So walking around and seeing that, and we're all kind of starstruck. And because unlike us, you guys are special. You're in your own hotel. Okay, I didn't say all that.
I'll say it.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I was really stoked to see Nyjah, the skateboarder. I grew up skateboarding as well, and so I watched so many YouTube clips about all my friends, and so I was we're walking in, and I was like, wait, that's Nyjah. I'm like, and so that's the one picture where I definitely got, because a lot of people don't know that I used to skateboard growing up, and that kind of has a way just like relaxing me and understanding that. So seeing him and knowing what he's done for the sport of skateboarding has elevated so much, and so seeing that was pretty awesome.
I mean, you are just a jack of all trades, my friend. Wow, who knew?
Yeah,
you should have your own documentary based on how talented you are in every sport. I'm just saying, Gold Mamba.
Hey, we're working on it. Maybe you guys could help me with that, because I think I have some pretty cool stories.
Now, this is one of those rare occurrences at the Olympics. We saw it in 2012. They were in London, and so the tennis was at Wimbledon. This year, it's in Paris. We got the tennis at Roland Garros. Yeah. Are you planning to go out and watch some tennis while you're at the Olympics if you get the time?
Oh, 100%. That was like number one. I was like, listen, regardless, if I'm on the team, my first request is, can I get tennis tickets, please? I want to go, and if my family comes, my dad's gonna be the first one trying to get there. Without a doubt. So that's the plan, is to watch as much tennis as I can, because that's why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all hoping that Mr. Rafael Nadal gets another appearance at Roland Garros, and of course, what we saw with Carlos yesterday winning that the baton has been passed over in Spanish tennis, so they're the favorites for the gold. But just real quick, is there a player that you would love to see live in Paris before we have to say goodbye to you, Jewell?
I mean, we talked for hopefully American tennis, right? Coco, haven't seen her play, but I would love to watch. If it's out there, if Carlos and Nadal play doubles, I would love to watch that.
All right. Well, Jewell, we so appreciate you. We know that you were up late last night playing a game. We wish you all the best through the WNBA season. It'd be great to see you in the finals, maybe up against the Liberty. We can go back and forth. You can throw stuff at me. But you're just an amazing talent. You're such a great teammate. We know how much everyone loves you out there. So good luck throughout the season, and enjoy. Keep watching the tennis. Of course, Wimbledon coming up, and then back at the Olympics. We have a feeling you might be on the team. So congratulations on another selection of the Olympic team. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jewell.
Okay, so thanks so much to Jewell Loyd. We wish her and the entire USA basketball team the best at the Olympics in Paris, which of course we will be there for, and we can't wait for it. And a reminder, of course, the US Olympic and Paralympic team trial kick off on June 15th. Can't wait to see that, as the best athletes in the country, of course, seek to make the toughest team in the world ahead of the Paris Games. Catch the action on NBC and Peacock. Then the Paris Olympic Games, of course, begin July 26th. We can't wait for it.
Can't wait. And on our next show, we have the question for everyone. We're going to build your tennis Frankenstein. We want to know if you're going to build the ultimate player, men's game, women's game. What's the best forehand, backhand, serve, volleys, mind game, athleticism? Tweet your answers to us at NBC Sports, and we want to know how you can build the best tennis player.
Yeah, and don't forget the drop shot these days. I think that's a shot you go through.
I'm going to go with Alcaraz for my player on that one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it seems like he's invented that shot again. But anyway, all right, guys. Well, thanks so much, not only to Jewell Loyd once again for joining us today. We can't wait to see you play the rest of the WNBA season, and of course, through to the Olympics. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for the French Connection, brought to you by NBC Sports and Racket. Next episode is out at the end of June. We'll do a deep dive into Wimbledon. We'll see you then.
See you guys.